What's up, guys? I've got a different kind of video today. I'm bringing you a guide on the enigma that is the Silph Rating System. So Silph Rating System is something that I previously did not understand how it worked. I think a lot of people out there don't truly understand how it works, and this guide will hopefully help you choose which tourneys you want to wait and which ones you want to play. And choosing the correct tourney to wait, that could be the difference between Legend and Elite. So every point matters in this system. So just try your best, and hopefully this helps. So I was gifted with a very unique opportunity here. This is the first time in Silph history where it's actually been possible to figure out how the rating system works with regards to wins and series and all that stuff. And that's because of a significant rule change that just happened in this Silph off-season. That's new for this Silph season. The change being that now when trainers are battling each other in Silph, the rating that is used to determine how much rating each side will gain or lose out of that matchup is now set to what each trainer's rating was at the beginning of the month. And because this is the first month of the season, that number is the same for everyone. So because we're able to take trainer rating out of the equation, really we've removed one variable, and the only thing that should affect gaining rating should be your wins, your game wins and your game losses, and your series wins and your series losses. So that takes out a bunch of variables. Now we only have 4 variables. And luckily enough, we're fresh in the season as well. This wouldn't be possible later in the season. You can look at the ties on the leaderboard to determine when people have equivalent ratings. So if people are close in rating, you notice that the bar looks kind of the same. I think that's done on purpose to keep it hard to tell. But when multiple people, for example, in these pictures, I've blurred out names below just so just for privacy issues, if people don't want me to be displaying their ratings. We have number 136 here. This was the first rating that I analyzed to try and figure out the relationship here, and that's because Mr. Know-It-All, the guy who helped me a lot with this, he was one of the people rated 136, and he pointed out this phenomena to me. So if you'll notice, looking at the 136, you got a lot of like 4 zeros, 5 ones, you got some 6 ones, but how can a 6-1 and a 5-1 end you at the same rating? Or how can a 4-0 end you at the same rating as a 7-rounder, right? All those questions and more are going to be answered. I'm going to skip the proof. I'm going to go over that at the end because I don't want to bore a lot of you who might not want to see how I got to this. And we'll just get to the nitty gritty and help you choose how to weight your tournaments. First, we'll go over the basics really quickly. Once again, skip this if you already know. It's going to be boring. You have 6 tournaments each month that can count towards your rating. 10 times, 2 times, 1.6 times, etc. And that's all in chronological order of dates started of the tournament. You can choose one to wait every month, so this will give it 10 times weighting regardless of when it was played, and shift the chronological order down the other way. But then that begs the question, what do I weight? Do I always weight a 7-rounder? I've seen a lot of people say only weight 7-rounders, right? Never weight a 4th rounder. That's a waste. And should you always weight, like for example, in a 6-rounder, if you get a 5-1 in one 6-rounder and a 4-2 in the other one, should you always weight the 5-1? Not quite that simple. So let's go over some examples on, or not examples yet. We'll go over some examples later on how that works. So game wins and series wins. Those are the only 2 variables remaining. And according to the Silph rules themselves, every game played counts towards your rating. So it's not just that final 5-1 score. It's also each series. Did you get a 3-0? Did you get a 2-1? Did you get 0-2? All of that matters. The exception is, and this is in the Silph rules as well, is that if you're already at a 0-2, if you lose the 3rd game, it doesn't count as a 0-3. It also counts as a 0-2. So you have nothing to lose by playing that last game. If you care about your Silph rating, you should be playing that last game regardless. And this is the big takeaway from this. Winning the series counts towards your rating at a rate of 3 times per each game win. So what this is saying is, if you were to beat a trainer 3-0, you would get, I guess, 3 wins worth of rating from the win category because you got 3 wins there. But you'd also get 3 wins worth of rating for winning the series against that trainer as well. So how do you use this info? So I'm going to give you the step-by-step on how you can calculate your own tournaments and how you can determine which of your tournaments is better to weight. This is also assuming that you played the same level of competition in each tournament. So in week 1, it's the same level. Everyone's at the same level, right? Month 2, it's going to be different. But it'll just give you a ballpark. You still won't be able to calculate exactly which tournament you should wait, but it'll give you a better idea on which tournament to wait. So let's go through the steps here. Step 1, to subtract your series losses from series wins. So how many more wins you have than losses in the series. If it's a 7-1, for example, that's 6 more series wins than losses. If it's a 5-0, that's 5 more series wins than losses, and you multiply that number by 3. Step 2, subtract your game losses from game wins. So let's say you're in a 7-rounder, you went 18-3. That's 15. And you just add those two numbers together, and then you repeat this for every tournament you're considering, and then whichever tournament gives you the highest number with all that math, you should weight that tournament. Let's go through an example just so you guys know what I'm talking about a little bit. I know it's a little bit confusing. I'm trying to go over it quick because it's a YouTube video. People don't have that long of attention spans. But here we go. Example 1. So the tournament, this is what we talked about before, a 5-1 and a 4-2, right? So tournament 1, you got a 5-1. Tournament 2, you had a 4-2. But in tournament 1, you only won 12 games. So you had a lot of 2-1s in here, and you lost 6 games. So a lot of 2-1s, maybe 1-3-0, I think, in this scenario. And in tournament 2, when you won, you won. When you feasted, you feasted. A lot of 3-0s. In your losses, you only lost 2-1. Which tournament is better? So some people might say the 5-1's always better. It's got the bigger numbers. 5-1. It's better than 4-2. You won more rounds, right? But if you're just caring about your rating, let's do the math really quick. So in tournament 1, you have 5 minus 1 times 3. So that's 4 times 3, 12, plus 12, 24, minus 6 is 18. We go to tournament 2, we have 4 minus 2, that's 2 times 3 is 6. But 6 plus 16 is 22. And that minus 2 is 20. So actually, in this case, the 4-2 tournament is worth more than your 5-1 tournament. So you should be weighting the 4-2 tournament in this case. This example, I guess, also kind of assumes that they're both ending at the same time. You don't often have this opportunity to take a look at 2 fully completed tournaments to determine which one is better to weight. So let's look at another example. We have tournament 1. It's the same tournament as before. This is your already concluded 6th rounder. And you're trying to decide, I've got another series going on. I've got this 7-rounder going on, and I'm not sure if I should weight this 5-1 that I have right now. So what you can do is take a look at your other 7-rounder. You have 2 series left to play. You're currently 3-2, and you're 10-5 in terms of wins, and you got 2 games to go. So in this case, you can do the math. Tournament 1 is still 18. Same math as last time. I'm not going to go through the nitty-gritty of the math. Tournament 2 is currently at 8, right? But to get to tournament 2 to 18 points, which would be a tie, which would be equivalent, you would need to win 5 games in your last 2 sets. So this is how it would shape out. You'd end this 5-2 with a 15-6 win, and you'd get 18. So if you were to manage 6 wins in the next 2 series, if you were to sweep both series, you'd actually be able to get more out of that second tournament. So at that point, it's just kind of weighing, do you think, like maybe you already have your matchup for the next round, and it looks great. Like you look like you're going to 3-0 it. So if you think you can get a 2-1 in the next round, at least, maybe it's worth to wait. Sorry, that's not good because you can't tell what weight I'm talking about. Maybe it's worth to wait for the second tournament and weight that instead. But if you look at your matchups and you don't like the matchup in this current round, you don't think you can get 3 wins, then it's not worth it to wait this turn or the second tournament. Might as well wait the first one because it's very unlikely that you'll be able to beat that score. So this is generally how I expect this to be used in the future when you're trying to determine which tournaments to wait, because it's unlikely that 2 tournaments are ending on the same day, right? All right, so we're getting into the proof section of this now. I'll go over how I determined it. It's not technically proof, it's just there's been such a large sample size that I would be incredibly surprised if this conclusion was incorrect. So we scrounged through the leaderboard. Mr. Know-It-All actually helped a lot with this, and we found a lot of ties between players. On the right, you can see the huge amount of players tied at number 212. So this is a lot of data, and almost all of them had 1 tournament. So it made it really easy to make a system of equations and figure everything out. So then we theorized a numerical relationship between series differential and win differential. If there had been different points for series wins and series losses, the system of equations would have been more complex, but luckily this hypothesis worked out right away. And then we set up a system of equations and solve for relationship between the differentials. You only need 2 equations to solve for this because we only have 2 variables. But we did have access to like 20 different equations. Then we checked this ratio with a bunch of other leaderboard ties. So like I said, it's not just 212 that we looked at. It was a bunch of different ones. So if you look through, you can see there's a lot of, like, there's a 4-1, 4-1, 4-0, 3-0. There's a lot of different types of series outliers. So I'll show you the Excel sheet that I eventually did make, and I'll let you know how I did more of this proof. So like I said, we started with 136. I started writing down every player's series wins, series losses, game wins, game losses, and this is calculated. So just ignore the points column for now. So I started noticing, hey, look, every time someone is 5-0, they're 11-4 in terms of games won and loss. And every time someone has a 4-0 series wins, series losses ratio, they have an 11-1 games wins, games losses when they're tied at 136. So for the rest of the leaderboard stuff, even though there's only 3 entries here, there were likely much more than 3 entries. For example, 212, there were much more than just these 5 entries here. You just saw them all. But if there was duplicates, I just removed them because it doesn't really help to have a duplicate equation in a system of equations. So anyways, I fiddled around with some numbers. In the hidden columns here, I have numbers set to multipliers for series and for games. They're set for 3 for series, right? So 3 times, and 1 for games. So it's just saying series wins are worth 3 times as much as game wins, and ergo for series losses and games losses. So this points column is essentially just series wins times 3 plus series losses times 3 plus games wins plus games losses. And if there was a different ratio or different numbers, I'd be able to adjust those very easily to figure out. But you can see that if I do these calculations for 136, all of these numbers, all these people tied at 136, they have 22 points. So let's go to look at number 78. There's only 3 different combinations there that we could find. There's only 2 different combinations that I could find. This one here was an outlier, which in my opinion will be fixed in a recalc, because there's no way that a player, and this player wasn't even tied. These players were lower, and they might even notice it themselves. They have a 7-0 and a 16-5, whereas this player, and there's actually 2 players at this rating as well, with a 6-1 and a 16-5 that were higher on the leaderboard than someone with a 7-0 and the same amount of wins and losses. And mathematically, that's not possible. So as long as the Silph rating system is an adequate rating system, which I believe it is, I think this is an outlier. So sorry I left this in. I really should have removed this from the sheet, because they're not even tied at 78. I think they were tied at 83 or something like that at that point. But either way, it looked like they should be much further ahead of these players, and they were not. At number 99, we had these 3 different combinations. They all worked out to be the same thing, same at 174. And then I got into a little bit more complicated math. I found a tie at 157 with 2 players that had different tournaments. 2 different tournaments played. So we're taking this more complex, and this was a big step to help me truly believe that I had a correct solution. So I believe this player, I think this player had a 3-0 weighted and a 4-0 unweighted. So you'll notice the number here, 3.8. I just added their tournaments together. So this is a 3-0, provides the 3, and then the 0.8 is a 4 times 0.2, which is the weight of your first unweighted tournament. And then the same thing with the games here. In this one, I believe they had a 5-2 and a 5-0 unweighted. So 5 times 0.2 is 1, 5 plus 1 is 6. And then same thing here with their games. I don't remember the exact games, but I multiplied them by 0.2 as well. And you can notice they're also tied at 20.8. So it seems to be working out. An interesting thing I did find out when we're going through these number 212s. So we had 4 different combinations, and then this one outlier. So I'll talk about that outlier for a second. Actually, I can go previous slide. This player has 14 and 7. Sorry, 14 total games, and they're 7 and 7. So why are they at the same rating? So what happened here is the first tournament that concluded for them was an awful tournament. It was a very negative tournament. I believe it was a 2 and 5 tournament. But because they were at the trainer level at that point, they could not go negative. So their rating still stayed at 0. And then when they completed their weighted tournament, which I believe was a 5-2. Yeah, it was. No, I can't remember, but it was one of these. I think it was this 5-1. Maybe. Oh no, it was a 4-1. I don't know. It was one of these combinations. That would give them the 18 points that would tie them with the rest of the group. So I don't know if this is something that will get fixed at recalc, or if you lose a tournament at the beginning of the season, if it just does not count towards your rating at all, which would be very interesting to see, to be honest. But I have no idea. And then at the bottom here, we just tested 3 different leaderboard players very high up on the leaderboard with multiple tournaments, and did the math and calculated, and they were exactly in the order that they should have been based on this rating. And I think Mr. Know-It-All also checked a lot more in the top 10 than just 3. Obviously 3 is not a very big sample size, but I also have a lot of things to do in my day. I can't just be checking the entire leaderboard by hand. But either way, this is the proof. Hopefully you guys agree with it. If you don't, I mean, you can go test some numbers yourself. It might not be too late right now. There's probably still quite a few ties on the leaderboard, but by the next month, it's going to be impossible to figure this out. So yeah, please let me know. And also, I'm also not 100% sure. Every tie that we found with a player that had lost a tournament, done poorly in a tournament, and probably should have lost points, it didn't look like there was any loss or gain from those tournaments. So I'm wondering if my trainer theory is correct, where if you are at 0 trainer rating, you can't go below that, or if you actually cannot lose rating in the Silph system. I'm not 100% sure. So, I mean, besides recalcs, obviously you can lose rating. So please let me know in the comments next month if you have a terrible brawler tournament. Your first tournament is awful. Your first live tournament, like day 1, is just awful. Please let me know if you lost rating or not. I'm very interested in that. But other than that, hopefully this helps. Hopefully this helps everybody out there. I don't like when information is hidden behind things, because everyone's not on the same playing field then, right? If some people know this and some people don't, they're at a distinct advantage for weighting their tournaments and therefore their Silph leaderboard placement. So my goal is to try and get this information out to as many people as possible so that everyone is kind of on the same level playing field again, and not just the people who are in the know can take advantage of things like this. But either way, thank you so much for watching, and please let me know if you lose your rating.